Hey everyone, Shrike here. I've got a hot take. It started as a quirk, evolved into a pet peeve, but it doesn't seem like XD is planning on fixing it. On the contrary, they've doubled down on it with their latest event. What am I talking about? Well, it's their habit of forcing player choice. Before I go any further, if this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. I'm Shrike. I cover gacha games. The extent to which I cover them will largely depend on whether I think it's worth my time or not. So if you like gacha games, or this game in particular, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my videos. In the Spiral of Destinies, it took the form of rigid narratives. In a game mode that advertises itself as being a mode where choice matters, it really isn't true. This is a spoiler warning for some of the Spiral if you haven't gone through them yet. In the Iria arc, the first one I did, I was stoked that I could get onto Dantalion's side and support him, but very quickly it became clear that it was all an illusion of choice. No matter how many times I chose the supportive role for Dantalion and took every opportunity to insult Inanna and tell her to go away, we still approached Dantalion together, side by side, to confront him about his recent choices and to question his leadership abilities. There was no option to yeet Inanna out of the window and join Dantalion in taking over the world. And in the same story, no matter how annoying Lutfi was, there was never an option to just forget him. Oh, and as a side note, I couldn't believe the things Inanna was saying about Dantalion, calling him a dictator and all that. Never once did he forbid her or the MC from doing anything. He just said that he wouldn't help, but said we were free to do whatever we wanted. And then he said that if anyone hurt Inanna, he would kill them. And as someone who suffers from Asperger's, I understand how hard displays of affection can be, and that was a lot for him. That was the only way he had to tell her how he felt, and all Inanna could do was insult him more and call him bloodthirsty. I couldn't believe it, but I digress. XD wanted us to hate Dantalion, and to love Inanna and Lutfi, regardless of how annoying Lutfi was. Now, I know I'm a bit weird, and not everyone will feel the way I do, so I figured I was an outlier. They can't cover every option after all, so I brushed it off. Also, in the most recent Spiral path with Akambe, we're forced to feel betrayed and reject Akambe, even though I completely agree with everything he said. Anybody who tried siding with him during those dialogues knows what I mean. Every single option is weighted. I don't know how else to put it. It just felt like the developers putting their own opinions into a game that's supposed to be about us, the player, and our choices. Almost like the MC has their own entire personality, independent of our wishes. It's one of the reasons amnesia characters are used so much for MCs, so their past experiences and personality don't color the story, and so we can self-insert. I loved Akambe and Dantalion's motivations. They made so much sense. But they clearly wanted us to treat them as villains. And if XD didn't want to give us the option to actually side with these villains, they shouldn't have made them so convincing. Again, I chalked this up to me being neurodivergent and ever so slightly sociopathic, so I moved on. But things kept adding up. During the Fool's Journey, we are constantly forced to side with this character or that character, all aligning with a set of beliefs that we may or may not share. And as you might guess, I had been hoping for a Guzman chapter in Fool's Journey, following the Darklight, easily the coolest group in the game. Instead, we're forced to follow Samantha, easily the most boring character in the game. Every time I was forced to use her, I would just skip her turn. No game is going to force me to use a character I don't like. Boy was I wrong though. In the latest event, A Fighting Night in Barrel Land, we appear to be stuck as the main character, with no abilities at all. We have to borrow an ability from Homa's bird, and we're forced to run around and try to beat all these strong units with only that bird move. I'm all for giving the player a challenging fight, but what the heck are we pulling units for? Many of us spending money to pull these units, if they're just going to force us to use these other characters instead. Sticking us with a skillless MC and throwing us into a pit of angry enemies is not an exciting challenge. It's a manufactured challenge. I could easily have beaten these fights using the characters I've spent time and money building up, but we aren't allowed. I've only fought 2 of these fights here, and they were miserable each time. Hopefully they aren't all like this, but I don't even want to continue the event to find out. That's how much I dislike it. I absolutely hate being told what to do, how to feel, what to say. It ends up feeling less like a game and more like a story we're just following along with, which would be fine if it were told through cutscenes that we could watch, instead of battles we had to slog through with the amputated teams they allow us. If I'm playing devil's advocate here for a second, I can see the argument that it makes the game more free-to-play friendly for people without those units like Samantha, Gloria, Tidon, or any of the other characters they stick us with. And if that's all it was, I would agree. But they don't just give, they also take away. They restrict what characters we can use, like in those battles where we only have one unnamed soldier and we have to kill 9 enemies by pushing rocks, or the one where you have one archer and you're up against 3 defenders and you have to figure out which one will cover which one so you can kill the right one, or like in this event where we only have the MC. This veers away from offering us a challenging puzzle to solve and instead into a pattern of control that I very much dislike. Especially in a gacha game, where how well you do is directly related to how much effort you put into progression. With these events and battles, all of our grinding, leveling, resource collecting, none of it matters. The player who spends all day, every day in-game has the exact same chance as a week 1 player. And as that week 1 player, that might feel great, but for anyone else it feels pretty bad. Or at least it does to me. So after taking a bird's eye view of all these things, I've finally come to terms with the fact that maybe it isn't all in my head. Maybe there's something here, and maybe I'm not the only one that feels this way. It's perfectly fine if I am. I'm used to having opinions that no one else shares. But if anyone else is frustrated by the control and restrictions of the game, feel free to let me know in the comments. Or if you want to defend the game too. I realize it can't be Baldur's Gate 3 or the Fable games where literally any choice is possible, and there are thousands of possible endings, even some completely evil ones. I get that. Seeing this pattern form, combined with the fact that the pull economy is so poor, has made me consider for the first time giving up on the game, which would be unfortunate because I've had a ball playing it. But I'm not giving up yet. I'll suffer through a couple more stages in this event in the hopes that it gets better as it goes, and I'll wait to see the next Spiral Path or Fool's Journey chapter to see if maybe this mountain was nothing but a little molehill this whole time. But I really can't see myself playing a game that's going to continue to try to control me, all the while dressing it up as free choice. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours. I'm gonna fly. See you in the next one. Bye.